Hello and welcome to our discussion on series worth a year of your life. I am your host, Andy Peliquin, as you know, author of the Last Few Solari series of The Half Demon Assassin, and I'm here with Raven and Jamie. Introduce yourselves, ladies.
Hi, I'm Raven Oak. I'm a local Seattle author of science fiction and fantasy. My series is the Boahim trilogy, with Amaskin's Blood being the first one out, and Amaskin's War coming in January. So I definitely know about writing series because that series is an epic fantasy series. So it's a doorstopper.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm also a Seattle area writer. I don't have a series out, but I enjoy reading them, so I have a lot of opinions on this.
Very good. We got it from both sides, the authors and the readers. Raven, tell me about your favorite series of all time.
Oh gosh, of all time? I think that'd probably be a toss-up between Patrick Rothfuss's Kingkiller series and old school Dragon Riders of Pern and McCaffrey.
Okay. Very good choices. Jamie, what about you?
I don't know, does Rothfuss count? He technically only has 2 out in the Kingkiller.
Two and a half.
Do you count Slower Guard in that?
Yes.
I don't know. Okay, oh man, favorite. I hate doing favorites. Like sentimental favorite would probably be the original 7 Harry Potters, just because that has sentimental value to me and my family. It was one of the only series that we all read together. Just my family's not at all speculative fiction based for the most part, so that was nice. But I just recently finished Daniel Abraham's Dagger and Coin Quintet, and I thought that was really good.
Very cool. Now, the panel is called Series Worth a Year of Your Life. So, as you can expect, we're going to be talking about the long series. Let's take, for example, The Wheel of Time. Everyone knows The Wheel of Time is 13 freaking long books. For many people, 13 books worth reading. What is a series that is worth a year of your life, Jamie?
Not The Wheel of Time.
I'm going to say that too. Not The Wheel of Time. Go ahead.
And to be fair, I didn't even finish the first one, so perhaps I'm making it way too early. But I actually would say Daniel Abraham's Quintet, the Dagger and Coin series. I think that's really nice. It's one of the best examples I've seen where there are multiple races, and I think they're really well described. They're really well described. It's a great plot. 5 books, it can feel slow at times. So I actually thought that one went really well.
And what's it about?
It could take you a year.
Okay. What's it about? Main character, plot, general? Give us an idea.
Ensemble cast. There's 5 or 6. Some characters don't make it all the way to the end, so you get new points of views as you go on. But it's on a grand scale. It's kind of about saving the world, and if the world really should be saved there in the end.
Very cool.
Giving too much away.
So it's 5 books. Are they super long, normal length, or short?
I think the final 3 were each getting to be around 500 to 800 pages each.
Oh.
I think the last one was 700 or 800. But honestly, it's epic fantasy. What I really like about it is it's not really a chosen one kind of story.
Okay.
It's people who happen to be good at some things and having to work together. It's great about showing how people from the smallest places and the highest up places need to come together to save the world.
That's cool. Raven, what about you? A series worth a year of your life?
I'm going to have to go with Melanie Rahn's Sunrunner series.
Okay.
And she actually has them as a trilogy and then a second trilogy, but they're pretty much all consecutive. And in that one, you've got dragons, you've got magic. Again, it's not a chosen one series. It's a whole slew of characters. I think by the end of it, there's probably like 30 or 40 characters that you're not rotating through points of view, but definitely following their paths. They're all 600 to 800 pages in length and well worth the read. People really forget that series exists, I think.
Awesome. Hey, Christy, welcome.
Did it work?
Hooray!
Yes, it worked.
We can hear you.
Tell us quickly about yourself, Christy.
Oh, goodness gracious. Hi, I'm Christy. I'm an author, jewelry designer, graphic designer, starting to become a vlogger. I don't know. I do lots and lots and lots of stuff all over the spectrum. I'm into fashion and sci-fi fantasy and whatever kind of sparks my mind.
Wow, so you literally do it all then.
Kind of, yeah.
Very cool, very cool. Well, Christy, tell us about a series that you think is worth a year of your life.
Well, it took me 3 months of my life to get through it, but I would say one of the best ones was the Dresden Files.
Okay.
Has so far been one of the series that when I started rereading it, I just sort of plowed straight through until I went, damn it, why isn't Skin Games out? I need this book. So,
Tell us about it in case we haven't heard about it.
The Dresden Files is sort of like it's a good description, urban fantasy wizard noir.
Okay.
Parkour! You've read it, you know what that means.
Oh, I had Poco Will Never Die.
Very cool.
There you go.
Yeah, he's a wizard, and he has fairy godmother. He has the most amazing dog and ginormous cat on the face of the earth. And just in general, I like that even though he's an adult at the beginning of the book, you see character growth. And I have to say that the book Changes is the most accurately titled book I have ever read. I had the next book available when I read that one, and at the end of it, I told my friend, I was typing it out, and I said, I'm sorry, Christy's brain is not available right now. I have to stop. And it took me a good 15 minutes. I'm like, I know there's more, but it just blew my mind.
Awesome. Hey, Rachel, welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Hi.
Introduce yourself for all of our viewers.
I am Rachel Marks, and I write YA novels for teens, urban fantasy, high fantasy, and set in LA. That's my book. Yay!
Hooray! That's the second one. It's out now.
Yeah, there's a sequel, and the third one is coming out. The final and third in the story is coming out in October.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Rachel and I met in San Diego, in the awesome Mysterious Galaxy bookstore. So we know each other. So Rachel, tell us about
yes, and you write about demons too.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. Tell us about a series that you think is worth a year of your life.
A series that I write?
No, that you would read, that you would spend a year reading, that you think is worth it.
Series that I wrote? Oh, yes, reading. Well, Harry Potter,
of course,
is the first one that pops into mind. Hate to be cliche, but I think that those books just did something in my brain. I don't know. It made me feel like a kid again. So I really loved those books. But the whole world's read those, so nobody cares.
Yeah.
But I think I had to pick a more obscure series. I'd say Juliet Marillier.
Okay.
Wrote the Seven Waters series, and that's high fantasy. So that's a little different, but beautifully done. She started out the series writing retold Irish fairy tales. So if you like Irish history, Irish fairy tales, and with a little twist, and they're really dark, and they're very there's kind of a mystery in it, and curses and witches and fairies, and it's just really cool. She makes you feel like if I went to Ireland, I could find the fairies. They'd really be there.
That sounds awesome.
That's what I would recommend.
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah,
now
really good. And then now there's like a whole bunch more.
How many books are there?
I think there's 7 now, but she keeps releasing more, so I can't keep up.
Wow.
So maybe worth a decade of your life. I don't know.
Yeah.
Depending on how fast you read and how fast she writes.
Very cool. Now let's go a little bit old school. Books that everyone should know. Tom Clancy, John Grisham. Who has read 75% of those books?
Ooh. I have read 3 John Grisham and 2 Tom Clancy, I think.
Okay. Those ones are serious door stoppers.
Yes. I like big, thick books. They make me happy.
Yes.
I've read a couple of Clive Kluslers.
Okay.
Oh, he's good too.
Who's got
but
old
most
school
of the ones
fantasy?
Was that
Who's got old school fantasy recommendations like Lord of the Rings,
The Belliard
Lord of the Rings, and the late 90s?
the Belliard and the Malorian
Oh,
by
yes.
David
Mm-hmm.
Edding. Or just to even the shorter series, the trilogy on the Elaine. But those books actually,
Yes.
they inspired almost everything about my fantasy love, which is actually why I have so much trouble reading almost any other type of fantasy, because I read those when I was like 12.
Wow.
And I was described in The Diamond Throne, the first book I read. I said, there's this great scene where they're at a tavern, 2 church knights talking, and a whore walks up, and she's like, would you like a tumble? And he goes, no. And he says, but can I buy you, Sparhawk, the main character, goes, can I buy you a drink, little sister? And she goes, yes. So he buys her a drink. And then she goes, do you want to know something strange? She goes, my feet hurt. You would think it'd be my back, but it's my feet. Thanks for the drink. And walks away. And my 12-year-old brain said, this is the coolest thing on the face of earth. You can't go wrong. I mean, it's got a horror. It's got this relaxed mentality about it. And just like this reality to it. And I'm incredibly jaded now. Nothing else is as good as David Edding's fantasy.
I would say Melanie Ron, again, the series I recommended was 80s and 90s. But also, again, Dragonar Zapper and Anne McCaffrey. You've got the Valdemar series of Mercedes Lackey, which my husband calls horse porn. Which if you've read the Valdemar series, you'll probably get why he calls it horse porn.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. But, yeah, I mean, you've got things like Raymond Feast.
Oh, yes. Those are
Piers Anthony and Douglas Adams. I mean, God, just lots of stuff out there.
That's awesome. Now let's go way back. Who's ever read like the Edgar Rice Burroughs series, like the Tarzan, John Carter of Mars?
Some of that, yes.
My dad read the John Carter of Mars book, and he adored it.
I know for me, reading the John Carter of Mars, that was what got me into the whole sword and sorcery genre. Even though it's sci-fi, the fact that there's so much swordplay going on, it's totally like, oh my God, I want to read more of this, which led me to Conan, which led me to Solomon Kane and all of the other gateway fantasy books, as it were.
Here, skip back to 90s style stuff. As I said, from a YA bent, Tamara Pierce's anything pretty much set in her turtle world.
Yeah, those are really good.
Along the Line, Song of the Linus Quartet was great. The Wild Magic Quartet. She writes a lot of quartets. I love her. And the Dragonlance, I think there's multiple. I've only read the first 3. Was it Dragons of Autumn, Winter, and Spring?
Yes. Yes.
I've never actually played. I've never played D&D, but I got the impression that book read like a D&D game.
I call them the dice roller games because you can hear the dice rolling.
Or how about the actual D&D books, the Wizards of the Coast ones? Yeah, the Dritz de Wardens. Has anybody read all of them?
I think my husband downstairs has. We own them.
How many are there?
A lot.
I think there's like 15 or 17 maybe.
Yeah.
That's more than one author at this point, right? It's not just, it was R.A. Salvatore and...
Yeah.
Is he not all of them?
I think so.
I think so.
Right.
Prolific.
I know there was a series, a side series about a cleric that they sort of interact with randomly, and that was written by someone else, I think. But all of the books that followed Drizzt and the other characters, that was all Salvatore.
Wow.
Yeah. That is some.
I've heard of some of these books. I've never read so many of these books. It's so weird. Because I was going to say, another good one that's slightly old school is the Magic Landover series.
Okay.
By Terry Brooks.
Oh,
Yeah.
The book is called Magic Kingdom for Sale. And I mean, for $1 million, you can buy a Magic Kingdom. Is basically
awesome.
the first thing in this book. And I think the only one I didn't enjoy is the very last one, but the rest of it was amazing. Or if you're looking for something that's a mixture of pure fantasy and pure comedy, the Myth books by Robert
I was about
Asprin.
to say Robert Asprin Myth, and those are still going with Jody Lanai.
I had trouble when he did that break in one of the books where he explains why he's deviating from Claude. Oh, I can't remember his name now. I can think we said Claude. From that character's point of view, and he started deviating. I loved it because there's a page and a half of the author talking to the reader, and then when you go back to the story, the character goes, "Is the author is done now? I can get back to my part of the story." And you're like, "Oh!"
Sort of breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite scenes is in the first book is where they meet a demon hunter, and you have Oz. No relation. And he's like, well, obviously I'm not a demon, because if I was, I wouldn't look like one. So since I do, I'm not. And you're like, no. And the guy goes, no, that's right. And you're like, no, it's not right. Your logic is hopelessly flawed. But the stories were really good, and I absolutely thoroughly loved them. And there are descriptions of what devils are. Devils are actually divas devils from the planet or the area Diva. And imps are from Imper, and pervs are from Pervec. And there's this planet Troll where the men are the Troll where the men are trolls and the women are trollops.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And then I love it. At one point he's like, "Where do gnomes come from?" And he goes, "Zorik." And you're like, "What?" And he goes, "No, that makes sense." You're like, "No, these things do not make sense. All the others have this straight correlation, and then you've got this one that's just no, it doesn't."
Way out of left field. I love that. You know who does that kind of stuff all the time? Terry Pratchett. Have you guys read the Terry Pratchett books?
Yes.
Can't get into them.
Oh yeah.
So funny.
I tried. It's something in my head doesn't connect.
Yeah.
It's a dry humor.
Yeah, it's really dry.
So British.
Yeah.
I can handle British humor. Something in me doesn't connect to it. I did try. My friend bought me one of the books at Worldcon this last year, and after being yelled at frequently for having never read it, I'm like, I tried.
Which one of the books was it?
Color of Magic.
The Rincewind. Okay. If the Rincewind ones are a little bit harder to get into, I mean, magic is always fun.
Yeah.
But the other ones, like the City Watch or the ones about Moist von Lipwig, those are so funny.
I'm willing to try other ones because, I do love the comedy. Like the other one that Robert Asprin, and I've only read book one, is the Fool books, and those were the first one actually spoke to me. Like this idea of breaking past labels. You have Omega Company, who is like the worst of the worst, and it's the some galaxy thing, and it's this guy who's bought his own commission, and they're like, we want to get rid of him, so they put him in charge of Omega. And like I said, it's just like if they're trying to get you to leave the military, but they stick you all in one place. And he basically comes at this idea of if you tell somebody they're stupid long enough, they'll start to act stupid. So rather than telling them that they're the worst, I'm going to start telling them that they can do it and helping them find ways. And it was such an amazing story to watch these guys as they figured out how to beat the best of the best in their own way by being themselves, not by trying to copy it. And so that was Fool's Company. It was the only one I've had a chance to read. Sometimes I go, really good book, and I try to read other books by the author, and I go, no, it's just that one.
Yeah. How about cross-genre books? For example, the Safehold series by David Weber. I don't know if you've read that, any of you? It's basically,
I've seen them, but
it's science fiction in that it's set in space. It's a war between humans and aliens. But to hide the humans from the aliens that are going to kill them, they destroy all electricity-based technology. So basically, sends them back to the Middle Ages, this planet. And the people who created this world established this whole religion, sort of very Catholic church in the medieval era, where technology and innovation is suppressed and everything. So it goes very sort of a blend between historical fiction and fantasy, but in a sci-fi setting. I just read the first book. It's one of those series that'll definitely take you a year of your life, because there's 8 books right now, but each is like 150 to 200,000 words long.
oh wow.
I get distracted when books get that long.
I hear you on that. This is an entirely crossover, but Joe Abercrombie's books.
Oh yeah.
Not his Half a World of YA trilogy. It's not that way. The First Law trilogy is pretty much epic fantasy, but the three books that he's got out as standalones that are still in that universe, he tried to do a different genre along with each of them. Like Esther Cole is supposed to be sort of a revenge noir fantasy. The Heroes, he was going for sort of like a war documentary style, and Red Country is like a western. So he really ties in sort of aspects of that. I don't know how to say that. I think they're all successful at that, but there's 6 books or whatever are now out in that series. So I'd say it's worth reading. I love the First Law trilogy is one of my favorites. So.
Yes. Abercrombie is a
I would
master.
throw in there.
Yeah, he really is. He's amazing.
I would throw in there space opera series by Rachel Bach. The first book's called Fortune's Pawn. I don't know what the series is called, but it feels like space opera, and it is space opera, but there's also magic. So it's got that science fantasy cross genre.
Interesting.
It's very, very good. The main character is a snarky bitch like me, so that's why I love it.
I love those kind
You
of
got a
characters.
heart of gold, Raven.
Oh, hell, I'm such a snarky bitch.
Those are the best kinds of bitches, man.
Yeah.
I know my dad really enjoys the, I don't know, the first one to deal with Mars, some of the Ben Bova books.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I think, his favorite author right now is anything Ben Bova. And I know he's done a couple, which is like they're connected. He's doing, I think it's like the planets. And I know he has some with Mars, and my dad just gets sucked in so far to those books that like when he comes back, he has comments of like, well, I'm sorry, I was on Mars. And the people are like, what? He's like, no, I just got back from Mars. And they're just, I don't understand. So, and I'm like, I get it. You have a problem. But he has found that those are books that he absolutely adores lately. He's actually upset. He's like, I need more Ben Bova books. And I went, he's still alive? Holy cow. Because I didn't realize that for some reason. So, because my favorite author, David Eddings, is dead. I'm like,
Oh, really?
So, yeah, he died like 2006.
Oh, that's so sad.
He's actually from Spokane, where I live.
Oh, wow.
He was born here, and he worked at, which is always funny because like nobody in Spokane, I swear, half the time nobody knows who he was, and I'm like, he was amazing. So I'm also apparently too young for a lot of his books because I was born at the time when they were written.
Oh, wow. All right,
I think that's stupid.
Let's talk nostalgia series that bring back those happy memories of reading as a kid. When I was 10 years old for my 10th birthday, my dad brought me the complete works of Sherlock Holmes. I went through that book so fast. And I bought the exact same edition, copy, everything sitting on my shelf. Do you guys have any books like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oddly enough, I know we talked about it, but the Myth series, the Robert Aspirin series, in the chapter headings in the earlier book, would have these puns to begin them off, and they were just like sentences like Abraham Lincoln would say this thing, and it was like made up of puns, so he really wouldn't have said that, but it was funny. And I would copy them down on poster board and tape them to my walls and just sit there and stare at them and laugh my ass off. Very nostalgia.
I had because my favorite genre is really mystery, which I think is why the Dresden Files so appeals to me, was when I was probably some of the first books I remember reading. They're called the Nate the Great books, and they're actual kids books. And he's this little kid named Nate. He has a dog named Sludge, and he has a couple of neighbors. One, a little girl, I don't remember her name, but she has 13 black cats. Each one is named some variation of the word hex, big hex, little hex, and all that. And some of them are nice and some of them are terribly mean cats. And another little girl who has a Great Dane. So, when you're like 9, that dog is at eye level or taller. And he puts on this little hat and coat, and he goes around and he solves little neighborhood mysteries. And when he gets stuck, he would go back to his house and he and Sludge pancakes, like make them from scratch.
Oh, wow.
And I remember just thoroughly loving these books, and they got me really started into reading and falling in love with pretty much anything that was a mystery. And I think that really did. And he was so kind of inspired by some of that noir, like kids noir, where it's not as, disgusting and dirty. Everything. And that really inspired that even now as an adult I listen to old radio programs, so I can listen to Philip Marlowe and listen to by Raymond Chandler, or the stories inspired by Raymond Chandler, and listen to those, and I'm like, I love it. And I love good noir mysteries.
Very cool.
That's awesome. I think I was a bit of a cliche child, but I just loved Nancy Drew. Like, Nancy Drew she was my babe. I loved her. And she probably, I think I liked mysteries the best as a kid. So I even liked my favorites were the mashups where the Hardy Boys were also, and I think I read all of them. My mom just bought me from the old to the new, and that's all I read. And then also Babysitter's Club. So the Babysitter's Club, and I wanted to have a Babysitter's Club. I wanted to be but I wasn't like a go-getter. I couldn't be in charge because I was too shy. So I would have been I don't remember the characters anymore, but I thought they were so cool, and I want to make a club.
I was about to tell you what character you were thinking of, because I have them all memorized so often.
Oh, you can tell me then.
Marianne.
Yes, she was just a little shy thing. So, yeah.
Jamie, what about you?
My childhood.
I read those as well.
I still have my Alana books. A lot of the I still have them. But also, Patricia C. Reed wrote a quartet that all have to do with the dragons, or dealing with dragons is the first one. And it's also talking with dragons and working with dragons and things like that. But I just love them. It's sort of a twist on fairy tale-ish tropes about princess. The main character is a princess who doesn't act like a princess. She's tall and she has dark hair instead of blonde hair, and speaks her mind, and she runs off because she wants to go work with the dragon instead of get hitched up to some prince she doesn't like. I love those books. I think they're great. I think they just got re-released or are getting re-released now.
Oh, that's cool.
Very cool.
And ElfQuest. It's graphic novel.
ElfQuest, yes.
I love ElfQuest.
Anyone else have a series they want to share?
As an adult.
I was going to mention another Terry Brooks one that's really good is just the Shannara books, at least up to a certain point. The airships, I kind of got distracted, but I really enjoyed reading those. And a weird one is the X-Wing novels from Star Wars. Like, specifically for me, the X-Wing novels. J. Michael Straczynski and Aaron Ahlstrom, who passed away 2 years ago, they are some of the greatest books because they really opened up the Star Wars world. Like, the main characters from the movies are bit parts in these books, which is why I loved them. And Aaron Ahlstrom even further deviates into other characters. And he plays around with Wedge Antilles. He creates an Ewok pilot, like an actual Ewok X-Wing pilot.
That's so cool.
Later dresses up as. It's absolutely hilarious. Awesome.
It's a shame that none of those are canon anymore.
You don't really have to know. I just say they're different universes because I actually preferred the books so much more. The books were so amazing. And then also the Young Jedi books by Kevin J. Anderson were really good.
Okay.
They dealt with Han and Leia's twin children.
Yes.
Those are the books that got me into Star Wars. And when I got to meet Kevin J. Anderson last year, I felt so stupid. I was like, I loved the books you wrote in the X-Wing series. And he's like, I didn't write any. And I'm like, oh, crap. No, I do actually love your books. I do love your books. I know who you are. And I'm like, this is great. I meet this famous author, and then I act like an idiot.
You got the wrong one, yeah.
I have a story that goes along with that I'll have to tell sometime.
Awesome. Is he the guy who wrote the later Dune books?
Yes, I think.
Yes.
I met him at Los Angeles Comic-Con. It was on his signing booth was like 2 aisles away, and there was no one there. So I just walked up, totally empty line, got a book, had him sign it. It was awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
A series I want to read. It's about I picked it up. It's about a zombie detective.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the first book. I've been in a very narrow mindset when I've been reading lately. So unless it's got pretty boys in love, I haven't been reading them. My brain is like, we want to read this. No, just this. So.
That's awesome. All right, well,
are the pretty boys vampires?
Oh, okay.
No vampires.
No vampires.
Oh,
I wasn't sure.
Okay, no.
Are they werewolves?
There was one that had one vampire.
Tattoos? Oh. Okay.
No, there are actually some fantasy ones. Really good. Like this one author, Megan Durr. She surprised me. And I'm like, as an author, you kind of get to this point where you're like, I know what's going to happen. She has surprised me in 2 separate books. I'm like,
that's hard to do in romance. Yeah.
And not just, and I was like, these were really good. And I just sort of plowed through, I'm probably donated, through my pocketbook, at least $30 to her.
Wow.
I'm sure she appreciates it.
Absolutely. All right. In our last 4 minutes, everybody take 30 seconds to 1 minute to tell us about yourself and your books. Jamie, go.
I don't have a book out.
Well, tell us what is going to come out.
Yeah, what are you working on now?
Yeah, what's working on now?
I have some short stories out on set. I'm working on a fantasy novel, big fantasy, got a knight in it, that kind of thing.
Awesome.
Nice.
I will put in one plug for a series that I think is worth a year, really, especially if you write fantasy that's going to have magic in it. That you should read Brandon Sanderson's work because he's one of the best at handling magic systems.
Totally, hands down.
Yeah.
Best magic systems.
Gold standard. Yes. Christy, tell us about yours.
I have 2 short stories released. One I recommend more than the other because I need to really go back and re-edit the other one. It's called The Wandering Wizard. And it's about a 500-year-old wizard and his quest to find the next person in this long succession of apprentices, as he kind of calls them. I also have a couple of short stories out in the Winter Wishes anthology and Hex Support, both through Dragon's Rocket Ship.
Awesome. Raven.
I've got a book, A Masculine's Blood, book 1 of a trilogy that's out, book 2 and coming out in January. Class Name Exile is science fiction that gets compared to Douglas Adams a lot. A Mask in His Blood gets compared to if George R. R. Martin wrote Tangled.
Now I want to read it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joy to the Worlds was his science fiction, fantasy, cross-genre, holiday-themed stuff. I've got a short story coming out in a Magic iPhone anthology in October, and then I just got picked up to invite only do a short story for another anthology that I can't say yet.
Ooh, secrets. I love that. I've got a secret too. Rachel, tell us about yours.
Okay, my books right now that are out are Darkness Brutal, Darkness Fair, and then coming out Darkness Savage, and they are in the Dark Cycle series. And they're about a boy named Aiden. He's 17 years old, and he can see demons, and he can smell emotions, and he has all these weird abilities that he doesn't know why he has them. And he's basically just trying to save his sisters from the demon that's trying to claim her, that already had claimed her mother. And so he's just trying to protect his sister throughout the book and find out why these demons are after them. And so it's kind of a mystery. And it's set in LA, so it's nice and gritty, and they're street kids, and the main characters are all street kids, so it's fun. It was fun to write. Yes. And then I'm working on what?
I said that sounds awesome.
Right now I'm working on high fantasy. Oh, thank you. Yay. Right now I'm working on high fantasy, and it's really dark. I didn't think it would be, but now that I'm writing it, I'm like, wow, it's really dark. But it's about a young man, of course, because I love writing from a male point of view. I don't know why. And he is a slave, and he does not have any magical abilities. And it's really fun to write it because everyone around him has magic, and he doesn't have any magic. So, and of course, he's a slave, so that's no fun at all. But he's going to break the chains. He's going to be free, man.
Of course.
He's going to, after a whole lot of horrible stuff happens, of course, also. But I was just going to say Brandon Sanderson's story and Meltdown story at the same time, because I met Brandon Sanderson last year at Comic-Con. I'd had him sign a book before, but I didn't say anything. But this time I went up to him because I kind of stalked him and chased him down when he wasn't signing a book. And I think my brain melted out of my head because I couldn't, speak. And I just started saying over and over again, oh, my God, I love your books. Oh, my God, I love your books. And it was my only fangirl moment I've ever had, except from the time that I met George R. R. Martin, which I hugged him and kissed him because he's so sweet. He looks like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And I want him to be my friend.